Have you ever met someone who barely spoke, barely moved, yet somehow you couldn't look away? Their presence stayed with you even after they were gone. In a world obsessed with being loud, there's a rare kind of influence that comes from those who stay quiet, but radiate strength from the inside out. What if your most attractive trait isn't something you wear or say, but how you carry your silence, your stillness, your depth? Let's be honest. Most of what we're taught about attraction is a performance. Smile more, say the right thing, look the part, dominate the conversation, post more, impress faster. But have you ever followed all those rules and still felt invisible? Or worse, exhausted from pretending to be someone you're not? The truth is, we live in a world addicted to noise. People compete to be noticed. They talk over each other, wear their insecurities like masks, and confuse attention with connection. But here's what no one tells you. True attractiveness doesn't come from volume. It comes from resonance. It's the kind of pull that doesn't beg to be seen, but makes others want to see you more. It's the energy that walks into a room without speaking, but shifts the atmosphere. It's the rare confidence of someone who isn't performing, but simply existing as they are. And that, my friend, is silent attraction. It's not magic, it's not manipulation. It's a quiet, deliberate cultivation of habits that ground you, deepen you, and shape how others experience you, without you ever having to force it. This guide isn't about tricks, it's about truth. You'll learn how to stand without seeking approval, speak without chasing reactions, carry stillness that makes others lean in, not pull away. Build presence that's calm, composed, and unforgettable. The 11 habits we'll explore are rooted in timeless wisdom, drawing from Stoicism, social psychology, and real-life observation. These are not surface-level hacks. They're internal recalibrations. Because once you stop needing to be liked, you become magnetic. Once you stop proving yourself, people start feeling your power. And once you stop trying to take up space, you begin to own it. This is your quiet rebellion, a rejection of the exhausting chase for external validation, and a return to something deeper, older, and truer. You are already enough. You just have to stop drowning in the noise long enough to remember it. Now let's begin the journey into the kind of presence that doesn't speak loudly, but is impossible to ignore. Own the energy of stillness. Command presence without a word. Think of the most powerful people you've ever encountered, not just celebrities or leaders, but individuals you've met in your own life. The ones who didn't need to speak loudly, move frantically, or take up all the space in a room, and yet somehow everyone noticed them. Everyone remembered them. That's not charisma, that's stillness. And it's one of the most overlooked forms of power. Stillness isn't about doing nothing. It's about doing everything with intention. It's the man who listens more than he speaks. And when he finally says something, everyone leans in. It's the woman who walks slowly, breathes deeply, and never rushes, yet commands more attention than anyone trying to be the center of it. Here's why stillness is so magnetic. It signals self-possession. When you are not constantly reacting, people assume you are in control of your mind, your emotions, your space. It creates contrast. In a room full of noise and motion, the person who holds still becomes a gravitational center. It calms others. We mirror what we feel. Your grounded presence offers others relief from the tension they carry. Personal story. Years ago, I attended a high-stakes business meeting. One man in the room barely spoke. He wasn't in the spotlight, but he sat straight, calm, hands folded, breathing slow. When chaos erupted, everyone turned to him, not because he demanded attention, but because he was the only one who didn't flinch. When he finally spoke, the room fell silent, and everything shifted. That was stillness. and I never forgot it. How to cultivate this habit in your life. Begin your mornings with silence, no screen. Just sit with your breath. Anchor your nervous system before the world can touch it. When you walk into a room, don't rush. Slow down. Stand tall. Take your time. It signals presence and control. Practice not reacting immediately. Whether it's a compliment, a comment, or a challenge, pause, feel, then respond. The pause is where power lives. Stoic insight. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." Stillness is not passivity, it's power restrained, presence focused, strength matured. In a world of overstimulation, your calm becomes a signal, a message, a magnet. Be the one who doesn't just walk into a room, but grounds it. That's stillness. That's silent power. And it begins with you. Speak with precision. Let fewer words carry greater weight. Have you ever met someone whose words felt like they carried weight far beyond their volume? They didn't speak often, but when they did, it felt like truth cutting through static. Clean, direct, unforgettable. They weren't cold or distant. On the contrary, they were fully present. But they chose their words like a sculptor chisels marble, carefully, meaningfully, with clarity. That is the silent power of intentional speech. And it's not just attractive, it's transformative. Why this habit works so powerfully? People are inundated with noise. When you speak slowly and with purpose, your words hit different. It signals emotional maturity. You're not trying to impress, you're aiming to connect. It creates intimacy. Less talking leaves more room for listening, and that creates space where others feel seen. Personal reflection. There was a mentor I had in my 20s who changed the way I speak forever. He rarely interrupted. He never rushed his words. And when he gave feedback, he paused, looked me in the eye, and spoke just one or two sentences. But those sentences lingered for days. He taught me that real communication doesn't depend on how much you say. It depends on how deeply you mean it. How to practice this in your life. When someone asks you a question, take a breath before you answer. It shows confidence and not hesitation. Replace filler words with silence. Don't be afraid of pauses. They give your message weight. Speak only when your heart and mind align. Don't speak to fill the air. Speak to bring clarity. Stoic insight. Better to trip with the feet than with the tongue. Zeno of Citium. Every word you say is a reflection of your mind. A person who speaks thoughtfully is perceived as someone who thinks deeply and lives deliberately. In a world of over-explaining and oversharing, your restraint becomes mystery, and mystery invites curiosity. Let your words be few, let them be full, and let them echo beyond the moment. That's the strength of silence shaped into speech. Master eye contact. Speak volumes without saying a word. Some of the most powerful conversations happen in silence, between glances, between breaths. Eye contact is one of the oldest, purest forms of communication. Long before we learned to speak, we learned to look. And in those looks, entire stories were told of fear, of love, of dominance, of trust. But in today's fast-paced world, most people avoid eye contact. They look down, look past, or look through. Because true eye contact is vulnerable. And vulnerability, real, grounded vulnerability, is rare. Why mastering eye contact is silently magnetic. It signals confidence, not arrogance, but self-assured presence. It builds connection instantly. People feel seen, not scanned. It evokes trust. When your eyes are still, steady, and sincere, others open up in return. Real-world story. Years ago, I met someone at a retreat who barely spoke. but the way he held eye contact made you feel like he was listening to your soul. He wasn't trying to make you uncomfortable. He was simply present, with nothing to prove, nothing to hide. It was disarming in the best way. And after 10 minutes of conversation, I trusted him more than people I'd known for years. That's the power of authentic eye contact. How to apply this in your life. When you speak to someone, look at them. Really look. Not like you're trying to win, like you're trying to understand. When listening, keep your gaze steady, nod occasionally, stay curious. You don't need to perform interest, just be interested. Practice in low-stakes moments, ordering coffee, thanking someone, greeting a friend. Hold eye contact for one extra beat. Stoic insight. Epictetus reminded us we have two ears and one mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. True listening includes your eyes. When you give someone your full attention, not your phone, not your next thought, but your presence, you become rare. And what is rare becomes valuable. Your eyes can whisper what your words cannot. I'm here. I see you. You matter. Embrace the power of pauses. Let silence amplify your message. Most people fear silence. They rush to fill every pause in conversation as if a second of quiet will shatter the connection. But in truth, silence isn't a gap in communication. It's a powerful part of it. Pauses create gravity. They give your words space to breathe and your presence space to be felt. They let others process, reflect, and connect, not just with what you said, but how you made them feel. Why silence makes you more compelling. It slows things down. In a world of instant replies and rapid-fire speech, your stillness feels intentional. It shows confidence. People who are comfortable with silence aren't performing. They're present. It builds anticipation. When you pause before or after key statements, your words gain weight. True story. During a Q&A at a leadership summit, someone asked the keynote speaker a confrontational question. The room tensed, expecting defensiveness, but he didn't answer right away. He paused, looked down, breathed, and when he finally spoke, slow, clear, grounded, his answer disarmed everyone. The tension dissolved. The power wasn't in what he said, it was in how he allowed silence to shape it. How to master the pause. Before responding, inhale deeply, hold it, then speak. It centers your mind and signals control. When you say something important, pause. Let the silence echo your message. In conversations, don't rush to fill every gap. Hold space. Let the moment settle. Stoic insight. Marcus Aurelius believed in the discipline of thought before speech. Let your thoughts be worthy of your word, he wrote, and worthy words require silence to form. Silence is not emptiness, it's intentional presence. When you learn to hold the pause, you stop chasing impact and start creating it. Let your silence be a message. Let your restraint be your roar. Radiate calm under pressure. Let chaos reveal your character. Anyone can seem composed when things are going well. But what about when the room fills with tension? When expectations shift? When emotions flare and the energy thickens like fog? In those moments, people look for stability, not just solutions. And the person who can remain calm, centered, and grounded under pressure becomes a silent pillar that everyone naturally leans toward. Why staying calm is magnetic? Calm is rare. Most people get swept up in urgency, fear, or blame. If you remain anchored, you become a beacon. Calm signals inner strength. It shows that you trust yourself, not just your skills, but your presence. Calm makes others feel safe, and safety builds connection faster than charm ever could. A story to remember. A friend of mine once led a creative agency through a major crisis. Multiple clients threatening to walk, internal conflict, deadlines collapsing. Everyone was panicking, but he didn't. He walked into the war room with a quiet breath. No shouting, no blaming, just presence. He calmly outlined priorities, reassigned tasks, reminded the team they were capable, and walked out without raising his voice once. The clients stayed, the crisis passed, and that team now sees him as a leader they'd follow anywhere. Not because he saved the day, but because he never let the chaos define him. How to cultivate calm when things go sideways. Breathe before you respond. A long, deep inhale changes your chemistry and shifts your posture. Name the emotion silently. I feel pressure, or this is a discomfort. Naming gives you space. Visualize the moment like a storm. External, temporary, and passing. You don't have to become the storm to get through it. Stoic insight. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." When you master your inner weather, no external storm can move you. Your calm is not weakness, it is discipline. Be the one who brings stillness to the storm, not with volume, but with presence, because the most silently attractive person in the room is the one who refuses to be shaken. Walk with purpose. Let your movements speak before you do. Before you speak, before you smile, before anyone hears your voice, your body speaks. The way you walk into a room reveals more than you think. Are you rushing, distracted, apologetic with every step? Or are you grounded, deliberate, quietly confident in your movement? Why purposeful movement builds instant respect? It conveys self-awareness. People sense when you're aligned with yourself. It projects strength without aggression. You're not trying to dominate, just embody presence. It shows intention. You're not drifting through life. You're choosing each step. A story worth remembering. A few years ago, I attended a private dinner with artists, entrepreneurs, and thinkers from around the world. One woman arrived late, yet when she walked in, the entire atmosphere shifted. She wasn't loud, she wasn't dressed to impress, but the way she moved, calm, upright, deliberate, spoke louder than introductions ever could. People paused their conversations, not out of obligation, out of curiosity. Presence demands attention, and her steps carried presence in every inch. How to embody purposeful movement in daily life. When walking, don't rush. Let your steps be even, strong, and fluid. It tells others in your own nervous system you are in command. Keep your spine straight and shoulders relaxed. A relaxed posture is not weakness. It's effortless strength. When you enter a room, pause at the doorway, just for a breath. Feel yourself arrive. Stoic insight. Marcus Aurelius said, "Dwell on the beauty of life. Watch the stars and see yourself running with them. Even your walk is a chance to reflect inner harmony." Let each step remind you that you're not chasing approval. You're already home in yourself. That's what makes a person unforgettable before they ever say a word. Be fully present. Make people feel like they're the only one in the room. We live in a world of divided attention. People nod while scrolling. They speak while thinking of their next task. They listen just enough to reply, but rarely to understand. And in that sea of surface-level engagement, there is one quality that instantly sets you apart. Presence. Not pretending to care, not polite performance, but full, undistracted presence. The kind that makes someone feel seen, heard, valued. Why presence is irresistible? It is healing. In a world that constantly whispers, "You're not enough," your undivided attention says, "You matter." It is rare, and what is rare becomes precious. It builds emotional gravity. People return to those who make them feel real. Story from the heart. I once watched a world-renowned speaker finish a talk, surrounded by a crowd of fans. But when a shy young woman finally reached him, everything changed. He turned fully toward her, locked eyes, put his phone down, and for 2 full minutes it was as if she was the only human on the planet. Her posture changed. Her voice grew stronger. She walked away beaming, not because of what he gave her, but because of what he made her feel. Important. How to cultivate full presence in your life. When someone speaks, stop everything. Turn toward them fully. Look them in the eye. Let silence hold the space. Avoid the urge to fix, solve, or interrupt. Sometimes presence is more powerful than advice. End conversations with intention. Repeat something they said. Thank them for sharing. Wish them well. Closure is rare and deeply memorable. Stoic insight. Wherever you find yourself, be there totally. Epictetus' presence is a gift in short supply, but when you offer it, you shift lives. And silently, powerfully, you become someone unforgettable. Be the person who listens with their whole body, who makes others feel like they matter. Because the deepest kind of attractiveness isn't what you show, it's how you make people feel in your presence. Be comfortable with silence. Let the quiet do the talking. We're trained to believe that silence is awkward, that if there's a pause, something must be wrong. So we rush to fill the space with words, noise, distractions. But what if the quiet moments aren't empty, but sacred? Some of the most magnetic people don't just speak well, they sit well in silence. They're not threatened by stillness. They embrace it. And in doing so, they invite others to rest, reflect, and breathe. Why being at peace with silence is so compelling. It signals confidence. You're not scrambling to prove anything. It opens depth. People feel safer going deeper when they're not being rushed. It builds tension in a good way. Like a great song with pauses, it makes what comes next matter more. A moment I'll never forget. I once sat beside someone on a long train ride. We exchanged greetings, and then sat in complete silence. No small talk, no pressure, but something about his stillness made me feel calm. Eventually we spoke, and because the silence wasn't forced, it made every word feel deliberate. He didn't need to fill space to feel present, and I trusted him more because of it. How to practice silent confidence. The next time you're in conversation, don't rush to fill every pause. Let it breathe. Try sitting with someone you care about without speaking. Just be there. It can be healing. When alone, resist the urge to always check your phone or play something. Sit in silence. Let your mind settle. Stoic insight. Seneca wrote, "Speech is the mirror of the mind, but sometimes silence is the window to the soul." The ability to be silent, not from fear, but from grounded peace, is a signal of emotional mastery. Let the quiet become your ally. Let the pause be your punctuation. Because those who are comfortable in silence speak the loudest without ever raising their voice. Cultivate inner wholeness. Need less. Attract more. There's a quiet strength in those who don't chase attention. They don't broadcast their worth. They don't seek validation. They don't mold themselves to fit the expectations of every room they walk into. Why? Because they're already full on the inside. They're not perfect, but they're whole. Why inner wholeness draws others in? It creates safety. People feel like they don't need to perform around you. It radiates peace. You're not draining others with neediness. You're nourishing them with calm. It's rare, and what's rare is magnetic. A story I carry with me. I once met an elderly man in a coastal town in Greece. He ran a tiny bookstore and lived simply. But when you spoke to him, he gave you his full presence. He wasn't trying to sell you anything. He wasn't trying to impress. He was just there, whole, content, deeply rooted in who he was. I stayed in that bookstore for hours, not because of the books, but because of how peaceful it felt to be around someone who needed nothing from me. How to build inner wholeness. Journal each morning, not to fix yourself, but to know yourself. Self-awareness is the foundation of self-trust. Practice giving without expecting. The more you release the need to be owed, the freer you become. Remind yourself, your value isn't tied to how much you achieve, perform, or please. You're valuable simply because you are. Stoic insight. He who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have. Socrates. You don't become attractive by adding more to your image. You become attractive by removing the layers of need and returning to your essence. Wholeness is not something you earn. It's something you uncover, and once you own it, you'll no longer chase love, attention, or validation. You'll quietly draw it in. Carry quiet standards. Let respect speak louder than words. There's something magnetic about a person who doesn't need to shout their boundaries, but never compromises them either. They don't demand respect. They embody it. These are the individuals who raise the standard in every room, not with volume, but with quiet consistency. They don't tolerate gossip, they don't entertain drama, and they don't explain their worth. They walk in alignment with their values, and others feel it. Why quiet standards build powerful presence. You teach others how to treat you, not with rules, but by example. You protect your peace without defensiveness. Calm firmness speaks volumes. You attract people who recognize and admire strength of character. A real-life moment that still inspires me. At a networking dinner, I watched a woman politely excuse herself from a group that had turned gossipy. No eye rolls, no judgment, just quiet exit. Later, when someone asked why she left, she smiled and said, "That kind of talk doesn't feel good in my spirit." She didn't need to argue. Her peace was non-negotiable, and in that moment, she became the most powerful person in the room. How to carry quiet standards in your life. Define your non-negotiables. What drains you? What uplifts you? Know where you stand before others. Test it. Practice saying no without apology. You don't need to justify your alignment. When someone crosses a boundary, respond with calm clarity. That doesn't work for me. Let your tone be firm, not defensive. Error. Stoic insight. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Your standards are not rules to impose. They are values to live. When you carry yourself with quiet self-respect, you shift rooms, inspire behavior, and silently remind others to rise. That's the final secret of silent attraction. Not louder words, but higher standards. Final reflection. Silent strength is the loudest power. You've now walked through 10 habits, not of performance, but of presence, not of charm, but of quiet depth. This wasn't a guide to being liked. It was a blueprint for living with quiet dignity, with purpose, with energy that speaks before you do. Because in the end, truly magnetic people don't chase attention. They don't play louder. They live deeper. They move with intention. They listen with their eyes. They stay grounded in chaos. They set boundaries without drama. And they let stillness speak where noise used to live. So ask yourself now, which habit resonated most deeply with you? And why? What silent shift are you ready to make this week? How would your life change if you stopped seeking and started embodying? Reminder from the Stoics. Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. You don't need to wait to feel worthy. You don't need to shout to be seen. When you build quiet habits that reflect inner strength, people notice, energy shifts, and connection deepens. This is your power now. Not noise, not performance, but presence, integrity, self-respect. Go live them. Let them speak for you. And trust. Your silence will echo louder than words ever could.